Hey guys, today we're going to be doing a review of the Tesla Model X versus the Rivian R1S, so that conversation is coming up. So if you're in the market for a SUV, like a good size SUV, these are kind of the two cars that come up right now. And so I've actually compared them myself because we actually have a R1S on order. And so I'm going to try and obviously, this is a subjective subject. There's looks involved, there's size involved. So I'm going to try and point out as many of the comparable things as I can. That way, it'll help you make a decision. So first thing is price. So if we were to go to the websites, you see the Rivian website right now. What I've done is I've picked the cheapest R1S you can get. So right now, that's going to be the Adventure package with the dual motor, all-wheel drive, large pack. So we've got comparable SUVs here, cheapest paint, and the 21-inch road wheels, which are the most common wheels. So that'll come out to be $84,000 if you were to order one today. Luckily for me, I have a pre-price increase one, so I'm getting basically a better car with quad motors, and it's like a much cheaper, and I can get the 2022, the old rebate as well, I think, hopefully. Anyways, not relevant. And if we were to compare that to the Model X, I've picked the cheapest Model X you can get, Model X with the white wheels, white paint, the 20-inch rims, and 7 seats. So that'll run you $103,500. So that's as apples you can get with these two cars. So, right off the bat, the Rivian is quite a bit cheaper, 20K cheaper. It's a bigger car. So almost right off the bat for me, that's why we want the R1S, because it's a bigger car and we need that space because we have 2 dogs. We have a toddler right now with our massive car seat. And so for me, I kind of look at the Model Y and Model X as kind of crossovers. So the Model X in particular, I kind of think of it as a supersized crossover. So it's not really an SUV per se, like a full-size SUV. And so that's kind of one of the cons for me at looking at the Model X, and of course the price too, which is just crazy expensive for not even a full-size SUV. So also have the charging network. So obviously Tesla has the best charging network on the planet right now, which is, if you're looking for a non-Tesla like me, like the Rivian, that's a big con if you travel. For us, it's not really relevant because we don't travel that much. It's few and far between. And on top of that, you may or may not have seen that Tesla is starting to open up the supercharger network to everybody because they have to in order to get funding from the IRA Act. And so there's actually 2 stations here in Northern California that are already open to non-Teslas. So you can YouTube videos on that. It's pretty cool to actually see non-Teslas charging on there. And it's very simple, just like how integrated and vertically integrated it is if you have a Tesla. So that could be a pro or a con, depending. And so basically, I'm just hoping that Tesla opens up much more of the supercharger network so we can just use that, because I'm not going to deal with Electrify America. Their network sucks, and I think everybody knows that. Cargo space is another big thing and why we want the R1S, because it's a bigger car and we need the space. So if you look on Tesla's website, it says the cargo space is 92 cubic feet. Honestly, Tesla kind of cheated because before, like, I don't know, year or 2 years ago, this same Model X was like 85 cubic feet. And so the way they did that is they basically, quote unquote, cheated, and they used a different measuring system to measure the car to make it look like it's 92 feet. So you'll notice this on the Model Y as well. It says 76 cubic feet right now, but a couple of years ago, or like last year, it was 69. So it's the same size car. They didn't change anything. So you can't magically grow cargo space. So they kind of cheated in that area. So really it should be like 88. So if we even go over to carsdirect.com, these are the cargo spaces for the 5, 6, and 7 seater. So 88 cubic feet is what it is for the Model X. We go over to Rivian, it's 104 cubic feet. which is much bigger, honestly. And on top of that, the R1S has a huge frunk, like massive. I've never been impressed with Tesla's frunks. I mean, I guess, yeah, there is some space. You can put like groceries and a pizza or whatever. But if you've seen this, let me see if I can find a picture. If you've seen this Rivian frunk, it is huge. You can fit like a full-size cooler in the frunk. You can easily fit a person in the frunk, like a almost like an adult person. You can fit in the frunk and close it. I can't find a picture right now, but there was one around here somewhere. Anyways, you can look that up yourself. So there is a ton more cargo space in the R1S because it is a what I call a medium-sized SUV. You know, it's not like a Tahoe or a Suburban that's super, super huge, but it's definitely much bigger than a Model X. On top of that, um, the way the cars are designed. So Tesla has those curved backs. Look at it, curved back, really nice looking. You know, I like our Model Y because it does look cool like that. But for hauling things, it's a huge pain in the rear end because it just kills a ton of your trunk space and you can't fit like anything in there. I've already had multiple times where I'd had to kind of struggle to get stuff in the back of the Model Y because of that curved back. So obviously, if you have a SUV that is more boxy and traditional shaped, you're going to be able to fit a lot more stuff because there's extra room. So that's another reason why we're going with the R1S, because it's a bigger SUV and we need more space. So the way I look at it is it's kind of like the Model X is, like I've mentioned, it's like an expensive supersized crossover, whereas the R1S is a medium-sized SUV, like your traditional SUV that can fit a lot more stuff. Also, for the R1S, this is an off-road vehicle. It is made to be abused pretty much, and so there's no comparison there. Everywhere you look, the R1S will destroy the Model X in like off-roading and like adventure outdoorsy stuff. That is what this car is made for. It is made for your adventures, whereas the Model X I kind of think of as like a fancy grocery getter, you know, drive around town, but it's not really made to be able to take outdoors and be abused, basically. So we're not going to be doing too much of that. But we do go camping every once in a while, and it'll be nice to be able to use this car that can actually handle it better than the Model X, which could handle it. It'd be fine. But again, if you're an outdoorsy person, you like overlanding or something like that, this is the car you want, you know? You can sleep in the back much easier. I mean, it's Model X is a bigger car, so it's not as big a deal, but I always find it funny when, you know, YouTubers and stuff are like, oh, my Model 3 is huge. I can, you know, sleep in the back, no problem. Or it's like, you know, yeah, you can, but you can't move at all. It's just silly. So anyways, this car is huge for things like that and made much more for that type of thing. And again, I tried to compare apples to apples. So they're both 7-seaters. Obviously, the Model X with the curved backing, those two people in the back, I wouldn't say would be cramped, but they're going to be, obviously, their heads are going to be very close to the roof because of that curved backing. So that's an issue there, you know, compared to the R1S, where basically you're just another passenger in the car and there's not an issue. So again, because this car is a bigger car, there's more room for everybody. So that means that the two passengers in the back aren't going to be as cramped. So that's one thing that, you know, again, is nice to have with a bigger SUV. Actual range is another thing. So yeah, sure. If we look at Tesla's website, says 347 miles on the dual motor. But if you've been around Tesla for a long time, you know that's basically a lie too, because they pretty much cheat on their EPA estimated ranges as well. So if you could get like 275 on a full charge with the Model X, with this Model X, that'd probably be pretty good. So another thing I like about Rivian is they don't cheat on their EPA estimates, like Volkswagen, like Porsche. You can get what they say you can get. So there's already numerous tests out there that are actually proving it. So this particular R1S, it doesn't say the mileage because they've done some software updates and they've kind of changed it. So I believe right now it's 321. Oh, actually, this is the dual motor. So this is actually going to be a lot more. I believe it's 340 for the dual motor R1S. 340, but I think there is some updates. Let me see. It's actually on here. Let's go down to specs. So if we go down to specs, dual motor all-wheel drive, range is 390. That's a ton more mileage, and you should be able to actually get that. I believe this is the max pack version. Let's see. Yeah, I believe this is the max pack. So let's not compare that. So the large pack with the Enduro dual motor motors, which are the new motors that Rivian are building in-house, is 340. So you should be able to actually get 340 miles, whereas with Tesla, this 347 doesn't exist. There's no way you're getting that. So the way they've done that is when Rivian did their EPA tests, they do it in a combination of sport mode and conserve mode to get that 340 miles. So if you were to go by the whole, perfect conditions thing, just like Tesla, you're not going to get 340. But what you can do is if you throw the car in conserve mode, you can, and just drive it normally, you can drive like 70 miles an hour on the freeway, whatever, you should be able to get the actual 340 because it's in conserve mode. And so what that means for Rivian is that they basically turn off the rear motor. So you're basically driving like a front wheel drive car when it's in conserve mode. So that's how they do that, to actually be able to give you that range where it's using one motor and it's very efficient when you're driving, a set speed on the freeway. So range is definitely one of those things that's important to me. And so I like that with Rivian, you can actually get the mileage that they tell you. It's not like a lie. Some things I do like about Tesla, though, if you're into the UI on the Teslas are just better. They're nicer. And it's because they've had more time to refine them. And so, the Rivian UI is fine for me, but I'm not very picky with that stuff as long as it works. But if you are picky, you're going to like the Tesla UI better. And also AP. So autopilot on Tesla is much better. So Rivian has a solution. It's called Driver Plus. They're still working on it. Let's just say it's not very good right now. It works, but it's not anywhere near autopilot for Tesla. Just the basic autopilot that keeps you at the same speed, or actually it's variable TAC is what it's called, traffic aware cruise control, and keeps you in your lane. So basic AP is much better for Tesla. So if you really like using that, you might want to go with Tesla. So that's really all the comparable things I could come up with looking at the two cars. Obviously the decision is yours. I'm just trying to point out the differences that I've seen. For us, the Rivian makes way more sense because it's a much cheaper car. And like I mentioned, we have pre-pricing. So ours is going to be way cheaper than this $84,000 and we get more. The charging network is irrelevant for us because we don't really go on trips. So I don't care about that because I home charge all the time. So if that's important to you, maybe you do want to go with Tesla. And also for us, we need that space. So the R1S is a bigger SUV physically. There's no way around that. And that is what we need. We need more space because we have the 2 dogs and the toddler with the car seat. And when you're hauling lots of stuff for a trip or whatever, I want that space, especially with the frunk too, because the frunk is huge and you can fit a ton of stuff in there. So those are the things that I noticed. Hopefully this video helped you kind of see the differences and help you make a decision on which one you think is better for you. If you have any comments or questions, leave them below, and thanks for watching.